Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Your Blank What Now podcast. My name is Marcy Nettles, and I am your host. And all of you that are regular listeners, and maybe you're new today, but this podcast is all about breakdown to breakthrough stories. The reason why is because there's so many people in breakdown opportunities right now, and they don't quite understand why they're there or what to do to get out of them. And some have decided just to stay there. But we wanted to bring you amazing stories of people that have been in those same situations, maybe not exactly, but similar, but that have made that choice in that opportunity to push through, to figure it out and do whatever it takes to break through. So I am really excited to have my special guest here with me today. She is going to not only share her personal story, but she is going to be able to educate you on a lot of things that you may have never heard of before, as well as share how you can possibly be an advocate for others as well. So this episode, and she doesn't even know the title of it yet, I'm going to kind of throw this one at her, is Your Flat Chest Saved Your Life. What now? So our guest today, Robyn Towt, is co-founder of GPAC, Global Patient Advocacy Coalition. Her experience with breast implants after having a double mastectomy for breast cancer led her to become an advocate for raising awareness about breast implant safety and proper informed consent. Robyn has shared her testimony twice at the FDA in Washington, D.C., and is also an administrator in various online support groups for women who are suffering from breast implant illness. Robyn has worked extensively with Arizona legislators in passing an informed consent law for breast implant surgery, and state GPAC teams are currently working on similar legislation in several other states. Robyn also partnered with the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, ASPS, to develop a patient decision checklist that was created collaboratively with plastic surgeons, patient advocates, state and regional plastic surgeon societies, and the ASPS government relations team. The consensus checklist was adopted by ASPS in October 2021. Robyn is a member of ASPS Breast Implant Collaborative Council and has attended the ASPS annual meeting as a guest speaker on the patient discussion panel. Most recently, Robyn and another one of the team members of GPAC, Andrea, were successful in implementing new language changes in the National Cancer Center Network, that's NCCN, those guidelines for breast cancer. Clinical guidelines and patient guidelines will now include language on having aesthetic flat closure, and we're going to have a lot of discussion about that today, as an option after mastectomy. Robyn is passionate about raising awareness and protecting patients, with continued collaboration between patients, healthcare providers, and regulatory agencies, as well as implementing policy changes and legislation. Robyn is committed to seeing that every patient is given the proper information to make informed and educated medical decisions. So guys, please help me welcome Robyn Towt to the show today. We are going to have an amazing conversation, and you are going to hear so much from her heart, but also so much that can potentially help you or someone that you love and care about. So Robyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you, Marcy.
Oh, you are so very welcome. I mean, you have been on quite an amazing journey yourself. I mean, just reading your bio, and I'm like, oh my gosh, first of all, everything that you've done for so many other women, just getting this legislation out there and the awareness, but it started somewhere, right? And that was with you trying to save your own life. Can you share with the What Now tribe what it was like for you before you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
Sure. I actually was diagnosed with cancer at an early age. At age 23, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So, all the things that come with a cancer diagnosis and treatment and all that kind of after effects of that have just been part of my life for more years than not. So my oncologist back in 1996 with my first diagnosis was very honest with me and told me that, because I was having extensive radiation, that I had high risk of getting secondary cancers. So I've always really stayed on top of my health, gone for my checkups, been really aware and keen on if something's going on, I always go get it checked out. So when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017, this was actually my third cancer. I had had some basal cell carcinoma a couple times. It wasn't a shock to me. It was kind of, I felt like almost like a little ticking time bomb. And I knew at some point I felt like something was going to happen. So when I was diagnosed, I think my situation's a little bit unique in that most breast cancer patients, it's typically their first diagnosis, and you're overwhelmed by all of the things, the information that all the doctors, you have an entire team of doctors and they're sharing all different kinds of information with you. So for me, though, it was a little bit different. Like I kind of took my emotion out of it and it was like all business. It was like a business plan. Okay, I've got breast cancer. What do I do now? This is what I'm going to do. 2 years prior, I had a bad mammogram on the other side. So it was kind of a matter, not of if, but when that one was going to go south. So I just made the choice very quickly to have a double mastectomy. That was an easy choice for me just because of my history. So the difficult part of my decision is I was at a phase in my life where my kids were almost grown. They were in their last 2 years of high school and their last year of high school. And, they're almost leaving the nest. And I just had to really stop and think about, okay, I'm diagnosed with cancer. What do I want that to look like? What do I want my kids' last 2 years and year at home to look like, with this diagnosis? And I really, honestly, in my gut, just wanted to get it over and done with as quickly and easily as possible. So I declined having chemotherapy. I declined going on the hormone blockers. I did not want to have breast reconstruction, even though I wanted to have the double mastectomy. I just, from what little I knew about it, I knew it was going to be multiple surgeries, in and out of surgery, and I just didn't want to deal with that. So when I met with my surgeon, it just, it was kind of, it's pushed. The norm is if you're having a double mastectomy, it's kind of like, what kind of reconstruction would you like? Right. And nobody presented me with the option to not have reconstruction and just stay flat. They make it sound easy. They make it sound like a free boob job. Your insurance is paying for it. Go for it. What could go wrong? So
that's the big question right there. What could go wrong? Well, we're going to talk about a lot of that, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I did it, and wow, what could go wrong? Be careful what you ask, because everything that could possibly go wrong just about did. And it started immediately for me. A lot of women have heard of breast implants making women sick, or they've heard of the term breast implant illness. I had never heard of any of that. I remembered something back from the 90s when silicone breast implants were making women sick and they were banned. But you would assume that since they're back on the market, the FDA did their due diligence and made sure they were safe, and the manufacturers did their due diligence and changed whatever it was and made a safe product. I'm here to tell you none of that is true. Nothing has changed with breast implants in 60 years, except the fact that the newer breast implants are a little bit thicker of a gel than the old runny implants. Other than that, it's the same chemicals, the same ingredients, the same illnesses that they're causing women. So,
So before we get into the breast implant illness and how you became aware of all of that, share first of all, when you got the implants, what happened in the surgery? I mean, you had made a decision on what size and what you were going to do with this. I mean, I totally believe society has got the worst hand in this. We blame the doctors, we blame the FDA, but I think society, in the way we have made women feel about their bodies and what they have to have in order to feel like a feminine woman, I think that we have done such a disservice. But on the operating room table, what happens without your knowledge?
That part of my story is very disheartening. And the feeling of betrayal that happened with my experience was horrifying. When I was diagnosed, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't that devastated to lose my natural breast. I had always hated my natural breasts. They were extremely large. I'm very small and petite. I'm 5'4", and I had these huge 36 double Ds that I spent my whole life trying to cover up and hide. So, my silver lining with breast cancer was kind of, as crazy as it sounds, woohoo, I get rid of these bad boys, right? And as we age, things don't go as well as they do like in your 20s before you've had children and whatnot. So
gravity is a real thing.
Gravity is not our friend, let me tell you. So there was no love lost there. And I thought, well, the silver lining in all this is I get to pick what size I want to be. And, I'm very athletic. I'm very active. I love to exercise. I love to walk and bike and hike and water ski, snow ski, wakeboarding, all the things. So I wanted an athletic build. And I told my surgeon pretty much every appointment that I wanted to be a full A cup or a small sporty B cup. And I was so looking forward to that, right? Like that was my reward after all these surgeries. And to the point where I told her every time, because you have multiple meetings with the doctor before your surgery. I had something called tissue expanders put in my chest, which when they do a mastectomy, they remove all of your breast tissue. And then what they do is they'll put a tissue expander in there sometimes to stretch the skin and make room for the implant. So as we were going through the tissue expansion phase, you have to go in every week and get a little bit more saline filled inside them to make them bigger and bigger and bigger. And I had told her I wanted to go small. She knew that. I mean, it got to the point where she rolled her eyes at me every time I told her I wanted to go small. And at one point, my husband was in the room and she rolled her eyes and said, I know you want to be small. So let's fast forward to, I wake up from surgery with 36 double Ds. And I was livid, absolutely livid. I have no words for what happened to me. It's assault. It's betrayal. It's complete lack of trust with my doctor who knew my wishes. And I'm not okay with that, and a lot of people were like, oh, sue her. And I just was like, this can't happen to other women. This is horrifying. So at my 1 week post-op appointment, I scheduled my neck surgery to get smaller ones because I didn't want these watermelons on my chest, is what they felt like. So I scheduled 6 days after that surgery, my neck surgery, which is exactly what I didn't want. In and out of surgery, in and out of surgery. So it was a rough few months, but then I started getting really sick. I mean, it started right away. It started the first week I had the implants. It's like, and it wasn't surgery. A lot of people don't do well with surgery. They wake up really groggy. The anesthesia makes them sick and bloated and nauseous. I've had 14 surgeries and I wake up just like this. We go to lunch afterwards, my husband and I. So it wasn't the surgery. It was other things. Like it started with chronic migraines and headaches, just fatigue, so I was like, okay, I'm going to just sleep and take care of my body and rest and recover. But then weird stuff started happening. Like I had a rash all over my chest and then a rash all over my legs. My hair was falling out. My eyelashes were falling out. I had extreme neck and shoulder pain. I had joint pain. I had insomnia. I've never had problems sleeping in my entire life. I was 44 years old and I could not sleep more than 2 to 3 hours a night. And I would wake up wired, but yet not have energy to do anything. It was the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my life. I started having heart palpitations, which was one of my scariest symptoms because I thought twice I was having a heart attack. And I was having problems swallowing. It felt like something was stuck in my throat. Meanwhile, I had gone back to my surgeon multiple times. And her solution was to just throw pills at me. Sleeping pills for my insomnia, muscle relaxers and pain pills for my chronic pain. She prescribed physical therapy. So I was in therapy 3 days a week, the whole time I had my breast implants. And gabapentin, I don't know, an anti-seizure medication. I don't even know why she gave that to me, but I don't like to take medications. So it didn't feel right to me. And I'm like, something else has to be going on. 4 times I went back to her. Not once did she tell me, hey, you might be reacting to your implants. So at one point I was so sick and just such a train wreck. I thought, oh gosh, maybe my cancer came back. and it is metastatic, like stage 4, I'm going down, because it was head to toe, my problems, starting literally with my head, my chest, my legs, my feet, everything. And I had joined some breast cancer support groups, because when you're up at 2:30 in the morning, what else are you going to do? So I was online and asking questions. And a woman here that lives in my hometown, friend requested me and said, look into your breast implants. I had a breast augmentation for several years, and my implants made me really sick. And when I asked her how, like, what were your symptoms, I could literally check every box. It was unbelievable. And I'm thinking, why didn't my doctors tell me this? If it happened to you, it must be happening to other people. And then it hit me, oh my gosh, how many other breast cancer women is this happening to, right? So I made the decision right then and there, I'm done. I'm done. If that is even what this is, I'm done. And that decision was pretty easy to make, because at that point in my life, after having 3 cancers, after having over a dozen surgeries, I just, I had no interest in dragging out my breast cancer experience. Peace out. I just wanted to move on, you know?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And the thing is that first of all, you didn't even get what you wanted when you got those boulders on your chest. And I think that God was just like all over this for you and letting you know right away that it was the wrong thing. I mean, because many of us that haven't had breast cancer, thankfully, that did get implants, like I got mine in, I think it was 1999, and I had them for 22 years before I finally explanted because I had become ill. There are so many women out there that are experiencing this. And so I absolutely love that you are so bold and proud in sharing your story. And so as you learned about breast implant illness and made that correlation, what decisions did you have left to make?
well, obviously, so it's interesting, because the girl I call Michelle, the girl who saved my life. Um, she found out about breast implant illness. She saw a story online, Crystal Hefner, Hugh Hefner's wife, Playboy bunny, that removed her implants because she said they were making her sick. That was her revelation. She's like, I think that's what my problem is too. So she went in to get an MRI to make sure her implants weren't ruptured before she explanted, and they found a mass. And she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So here she thinks she's just going in to have her implants removed, and she goes in and has her implants removed and a total double mastectomy. So I actually met her for lunch, and she shows up to the restaurant. She's this teeny tiny little thing, like 5'1", and she just floats into the restaurant all happy and flat. And I looked at her and I was like, she looks great. She looks amazing. I can totally do this. And that was it. I went home that night, and it was interesting, because I was taking a bath because I was in so much pain. I would take an Epsom salt bath to try and relieve the pain. And I was in the bathtub, and I remember when I went under the water and immersed myself in the water, the breast implants floated up off my chest, and I could breathe, Marcy.
Mm.
And I literally started crying. And I called my husband in, and I was like, babe, it's the implants. It's the implants. It has to be. So, we talked about it, and honestly, that the decision was so easy for me. At that point, I was such a train wreck. I think my husband was willing to do anything just to get his wife back, and have my kids get their mother back. So the decision was pretty easy. And I think it was easier for me because I never really wanted it in the first place.
Right.
But then I started taking myself out of the equation, and I really started thinking about other women, other breast cancer patients, other people that this is their first cancer diagnosis, and their head is spinning with all that information that the doctors are throwing at them. But not only that, these plastic surgeons are predatory. They tell you how you need to be put back together. You need to be made whole, and I'm going to do that for you. And I'm going to give you back what you lost, what breast cancer took from you. Let me tell you something. These are not what I lost. Look at this. These are huge.
And she's showing her implants right now, by the way. She's holding up implants in front of her chest, and they are huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about implants too that I don't think a lot of people really think about is it's a foreign body that we are willingly putting inside of us, right? And yet our bodies don't know that we want them there. And so they go to battle against them just as if it was like a sliver that got into our finger. Our
Yep.
immune system goes to work, it starts pushing it out. Your finger might get inflamed and pussy because it's infected and it's trying to get that thing out of there, and it eventually pushes it back out the same hole that it came in, right? Well, implants, your body can't do that. Your
Yeah.
body can't do that. And so it goes to battle against them, trying to protect our body. And then you have all kinds of problems, just like what Robyn's been explaining. So if you're a woman that's out there and you have implants or know somebody that has implants and they're having weird things happening in their health that nobody can explain, doctors are like saying, "Hey, it's all in your head, everything's normal, everything's great." Maybe it's the implants.
Mhm.
Maybe it is, because just like you said, patients are not informed of what can potentially happen. They're not informed that even though they get saline implants, the exterior is not saline, and it is made up of major chemicals and problems that seeps out into your body. So yeah, oh my gosh, I absolutely love this. And so did you have that discussion with your husband like I had with mine? Was, are you going to find me, attractive? Because I asked my husband that. Were you concerned about that?
At that point, my husband was a boob guy too, but at that point we had been married for 24 years, and he's my best friend and my partner in life. And I don't think he cared. I don't even think he thought about it. I think he just wanted his wife back
Yeah.
because I was gone. I was not the same person. I just wasn't. So it's that or he loses me, because I was gone. So, I remember thinking, I don't care what he thinks, I'm doing this, you know, and, but no, it was a decision that was really easy for both of us because we just wanted our normal life back, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I would have to say that it was similar here, but I was a little concerned about it just because it had been so long. I mean, I had had them for so long
yeah,
and they had become part of me, but I had the same response from my husband in that, I love you. You
yeah,
are who I love. And
you.
that's
And
what,
that's not you. That's not who you are. You are not
right.
your breast. You are not
Right.
your chest. And, I am blessed that he was supportive of that and loves me for me because there is so much more to me than that. Trust me.
Amen. Amen, sister. And, that's one of the things that I think is a great lesson out of this episode too, and you sharing your story for women out there that are worried about those same things is like, you are not your boobs.
Yeah.
Right? You are so much more than breast tissue. And even though society tries to make you think, just like what you said about your surgeons and what the surgeon says out there about, I'm going to make you whole, I'm going to give you back. It's like they're trying to play God in a situation to where it's like they are not.
Yeah.
And so I would love for you to be able to share with the audience just straight up and boldly what you've learned about implants, what you've learned about how they are presented to patients, and what the truth of the matter is, because we need to know, the world needs to know, and women need to know that they are enough just the way they are.
Absolutely. And it is hard with the breast cancer women. I've had a couple women that I've helped through their explant journey, and they do worry about, will my significant other find me attractive? And I had one lady that was so worried about it. And I told her, I said, look, and I've had so many surgeries. I mean, it's almost comical at this point because they're everywhere, biopsies, and I had part of my lung removed and my thyroid removed. So it's like all the things. But I said to her, I said, you're going to get out of the shower. You're going to see your scars. Is that all you're going to see though? Because there is so much more that makes you, you. And I suggested to her, I said, take a whole pad of sticky notes and write down all the other things that make you special, that make you, you, to your family, to your husband, to your spouse, to your friends and loved ones. And write all those things down and put them all over your mirror. And then when you get out of the shower, I'm not saying don't look at your scars. You can look at your scars and you can, throw your pity party and have a bad day about it, but don't pitch a tent and camp there. Move on and look at all the other things. Look at the bigger picture
Yes.
because you are so much more than your breasts or any other body part. I mean, do people struggle with this if they went swimming in the ocean, got their arm bit off by a shark? Do people, they're alive, right? Do people struggle with this when they get their gallbladder removed? Do they go put a silicone ball in their gallbladder because they feel incomplete without it? I mean, it's just not who you are. There's
No,
so much more.
in those other circumstances that you mentioned, I think that people get to the point to where they look at that scar with gratitude. It means that I'm living still. I am still here. And so being able to look at the scars and understand that those are just part of the story of your life, and
Yeah,
that you are so strong because you've been able to live through what created those scars, right? And it means that you're still alive. And that's the number one thing, is that we've got to be grateful for life.
absolutely. And it's interesting because all of the women that I see post explant, whether they're flat or whether they're augmentation patients that just, remove their implants, they still have scars. They're so proud of those scars. They are so proud that they put society aside and said, I don't care what Instagram says I need to look like, what this filter says I need to look like. I'm me, I'm sick, and I'm going to put me first and do what's best for my health. And that means removing my implants. You should see these flatties. The flat movement is unstoppable right now. These warriors are literally parading in the streets, showing their scars, getting beautiful tattoos. And it's so amazing to watch because you know what? Every single woman that posts her flat journey on the internet, on Instagram, on Facebook, she inspires and empowers other women to do the same.
Yes. So for someone that maybe doesn't know what being a flatty means, or to go flat, what that means, can you explain that as an option? It's truly an option to breast cancer survivors that have gone through those double mastectomies. Explain what that really is.
So, and it really is an option now because, like you said, when you were reading my intro, we actually changed the NCCN guidelines. The National Cancer Center Network has now changed their clinical guidelines for doctors and their patient guidelines to include aesthetic flat closure. And what that means is basically when you have a mastectomy, they remove all of your breast tissue. So if you think about like a cantaloupe, right? You cut a cantaloupe in half and you literally scoop out all the insides. That's all the breast tissue. And then the only thing that's left is the outside, which is your skin. So women who choose to go flat from the beginning, they just remove everything. They remove the inside, all the breast tissue, the glands, the ducts, and then they remove all the remaining skin because you don't want to be left with a bunch of skin folds. But see, surgeons, women were waking up and they were flat. They didn't have reconstruction, but their surgeon left the skin because they were like, well, I know you'll change your mind. So I left skin there so we can put implants in later when you decide you want reconstruction. And these women are livid. Kimberly Bowles is an advocate who literally started a group, a website, and a nonprofit just about her experience with being denied an aesthetic flat closure. So what that means is you're basically one and done. You get your breast removed, you go on with your life, you live happy, healthy. Some of these surgeries are there's two main forms of reconstruction that most women have: reconstruction with breast implants, and then there's tissue flap reconstruction, where they will take pieces of your tissue from your abdomen, your buttocks, your back, and they'll build breast mounds on your chest. But these are really long surgeries. I mean, some of these patients are on the table for 12 to 14 hours with extremely long recovery times, multiple incision sites, very difficult surgeries with very long recoveries.
Yeah. And also with those surgeries, it's not a guarantee that they're going to keep that tissue. That tissue a lot of the times goes away. It doesn't even stay. And so they've gone through this with the hopes of having some sort of a breast structure, and it doesn't happen. It goes away. Yeah. And so hard on the body.
It is. And all of these surgeries are hard on the body. I had lunch with a lady who had 22 reconstruction surgeries. 22. At what point are these doctors not thinking, hey, maybe this isn't going to work out for this patient? Do the right thing, do the moral thing, and don't put these women through such horrifying mutilation just to try and have breasts.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, these women need to be counseled, they need support. There's so many other options for them. And the flat women are just so happy because they're done. We don't have to have any more surgeries. You get implants, you got to go back for revisions. Then the implant falls because we have no breast tissue. And then they need to get the implants changed out, maybe a different size, all the things. I was not dragging out breast cancer over however many years, it would take to do this reconstruction nightmare.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And when you think about it that way, it's like when you give cancer that much power over you, that it is continue to rule your life even after the cancerous cells are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no way to live at all. And so I absolutely love that you are talking about the different options that women have in these circumstances. But why aren't doctors doing that, right? Why aren't doctors just giving patients all of the information? Can you share with What Now Tribe more about informed consent? What exactly is that? And then also, mention and talk about what the hidden, like the FDA adverse event reports are all about.
Yes. So it was interesting. After I explanted, first of all, I felt amazing. I went back to being able to exercise because, before I had surgery, I was walking 5 to 7 miles a day, riding my bike 10 miles, no problem. With breast implants, I couldn't even walk around the block.
Oh, wow.
So I get them taken out and I'm like, new lease on life. But I also had such conflicting emotions because I thought, what just happened to me? And if this happened to me, how many other women is this happening to? And why didn't my doctors tell me? So I actually didn't find out until 6 months after my explant that I was supposed to get a patient information booklet for my breast implants. I didn't get that. And what's interesting is this whole experience led me to become a patient advocate. So over the years, I've done little surveys and different projects. And I did a survey of women who were explanting that got sick from their implants. And the survey says 86% of patients never got the patient information booklet, which, by the way, the FDA insisted and mandated each manufacturer to give one of these to every patient. And the patients aren't getting them. 86% felt like they didn't have enough time to make an educated decision. And 96% of women said they didn't understand the risks and maintenance associated with having breast implants. What are these doctors doing? I was livid. So, the way my brain works is I'm thinking, I can't believe my surgeon didn't tell me this. I could have totally sued her and I probably should have, but I want to make sure this doesn't continue to happen. What can I do to fix that? We were already working on some federal laws. We were trying to get the Medical Device Safety Act passed, but I just felt like, what can I do that's quicker? And I actually met with one of my state senators and said, is this even something we can do? And we had a meeting with the senior health policy advisor at the Arizona State Capitol. And they're like, yeah, we can absolutely pass a bill that mandates surgeons to give proper informed consent. So proper informed consent, what does that look like? So we sat down, had a bunch of meetings, and we outlined it all. I had come up with this patient decision checklist that I created before going to my FDA meeting in March of 2019, the second time I spoke at the FDA. And I thought, let's make doctors give this to patients. And we did. We passed our law. It went into effect January 1st, 2022. And now every woman that goes in for breast reconstruction or breast augmentation will not only get the patient book that I didn't get, they'll also get my checklist that lists all the things I wish I knew. And they came straight from the manufacturer's patient information, straight from the FDA website. All of the information is there from clinical studies, trials, everything. It's just doctors aren't telling patients. They gloss over these risks. They just make it sound like getting a pedicure and risks, every once in a while a lady gets sick or something, but that never happens. I've put in 3,000 sets of implants. I've never had one patient get sick. I can't tell you how many doctors I've heard say that. So then I find out, the week before my FDA meeting in March 2019, that the FDA was hiding over 446,000 reports of women harmed by breast implants. They were allowing the manufacturers to report in lump sums instead of each individual report. So if you were to go on the FDA website and I wonder how many women are having problems with breast implants, it would look like maybe 5,000 a year. Well, 300,000 women a year are getting breast implants. So that doesn't seem like too bad of odds, right? But it was really anywhere between 30, 40, 50, 55,000 a year.
Wow.
And when that was exposed, their response was kind of like, oops, okay, sorry, we won't do that anymore. But meanwhile, these women are being gaslit by their doctors, telling them they're crazy. They're making up their symptoms because they read something on social media. I didn't even have social media when I got sick. I literally didn't. I was not on social media at all. So where would I have even created those symptoms in my head? But yet my story is the same exact story as women in Australia and the UK and Germany and New York, like everywhere. So we're not making it up, but they've been saying this for 60 years that we're making it up. So, and then I dug really deep into the research behind breast implants, not only the research behind breast implants, but the people who do that research. And I found some very disturbing stuff. The people that have been controlling the entire narrative about breast implants for the last 30 plus years, they are paid very well by industry. The manufacturers give them gifts, they pay for their travel expenses, they give them consulting fees, research money. And when you're making $468,000 from Allergan, no wonder their studies show breast implants are safe. They're just puppets. They're industry puppets.
Absolutely. And it goes to the surgeons as well. Manufacture to the surgeon, you wonder where that implied information is, right? The consent information that is required to go, and why it doesn't get to the patient. Just like other things in the medical field, doctors are given kickbacks too.
Absolutely.
And I'm not blasting doctors. I know there's a lot of really, really great doctors out there. As a matter of fact, my surgeon, when I had my explant, he's like, Marcy, you never needed implants in the first place. If I had been your doctor, you would have just gotten a lift.
That is so frustrating to see. I can't tell you how many women just wanted a lift. They had 2 or 3 kids, breastfed. Their breasts were a little bit saggy. They
Rocks
just wanted
and socks.
Yeah, they just wanted them perked back up, and they would have been perfectly fine with a lift.
Yep.
But implants are very easy. It's a very easy surgery. So a surgeon can pop in 20 sets of implants a day in the time it could take them to do maybe just a few lifts. So why would you want to do more work when you could just pop an implant in and make all that money and all those future surgeries?
Yeah.
It's a great business plan. I will give them that. It's a great business plan.
I don't want to be part of that anymore.
Right. Put a faulty device in women that they have to keep coming back for more surgeries, and I have job security.
Oh my gosh. And taking care of my family for generations, right? That's what, yeah, no. So I love the work that you're doing. If you could go back to Robyn pre-breast cancer, or even to another woman that has not quite yet had that diagnosis, but it may be coming, what is maybe a couple things that you would share with yourself before you were jumping into that journey and those decisions you had to make, coming from the wisdom you have now because you've been through it? What would you go back and share with Robyn pre-breast cancer?
Well, the most amazing part of all of this is when I was diagnosed in 2017, I Googled breast implant safety. There was nothing. There's nothing. The FDA didn't really acknowledge any of this until 2019. So the best news I have for all of your listeners is if you're faced with not just a breast cancer diagnosis, any kind of diagnosis or injury, or you're told you need something placed in your body or you need to be on a certain medication, do your research and For me personally, I could not have been saved in 2017 because the research, the information was out there. It wasn't easily accessible. If anyone Googles today, are breast implants safe? You're going to see breast implant illness pop up all over the place. You're going to see all the groups pop up, which is fantastic. Patients deserve to have information. And depending on the medical device or drug, some of that information might not be there, but you can always go to the FDA website and search their adverse event MAUDE database, MAUDE. And adverse events are there. You can see what other patients are saying. A lot of people don't know they can report to the MAUDE database as a patient, a caregiver, a doctor. Anyone can report to the FDA. So I think if I could tell anyone to just go do your research, make sure you're looking in the right places. Most importantly, I think you should talk to other people who have had the experience, the diagnosis, the illness, whatever it is, and start really talking to the people who have been through it. Because the doctors are not being truthful. They are regurgitating what they're taught in medical school by the pharmaceutical companies, by the device companies. And like you, I know some amazing doctors who are doing so much right by patients, but there are a lot that are doing wrong by patients. And the best way to get the information is from somebody who's been through it. Find as many people as you can. And you look on Facebook, there's a group for everything.
It's so true.
So,
Yeah. So don't just trust, educate and collaborate.
Absolutely.
And you'll be able to come up with the answer, or at least some best options for no matter what you're in.
Absolutely.
I love that. That is so good. So, Robyn, tell me, when you look in the mirror after just having gotten out of the shower or the bath and you see your scars, what do you think? What do you tell yourself?
I have to be totally honest with you. I forget that I'm flat. It's so bad because my friend Tara Hopko, she has a website, and every month she was featuring a Warrior of the Month. And she asked me to share my journey as the Warrior of the Month one month. So I sent her a little bio about me, what I do, and I completely forgot to mention that I was flat. So I email it to her. I'm like, here you go. Let me know if you want me to make any changes, add anything, delete anything. She's like, do you think you could mention being flat? I literally don't even think about it. I literally don't think about it. And my friend Michelle, who saved my life, we went to lunch one day, and I've known her for almost 5 years now. And we were ordering our food, and she looks down at me and she goes, I totally forget you're flat. You're flat. I'm like, so are you. I really don't. I do not focus on it. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't know if I just blocked it out or I just really don't give a shit.
I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that. Seriously. Being flat saved your life, right?
It absolutely did. I wouldn't be here today.
And so what do you think about self-care, self-love, lifting up other women, what we need to be for each other, instead of just relying on society to make us feel like crap? What do you think about that?
That's such a deep-rooted problem in our society right now. It really makes me sad. I am very fortunate and blessed that I didn't grow up and mother my children in a world like we have today, because I think it's really degrading to have all these, everyone posting their perfectness online with filters, and it's just not even real. I mean, why are you doing that? And then it's just making other people feel bad, like they need to go out and do this. And I have to wonder if the device and pharmaceutical industry has stock in the Instagram filters because they make people run out and get plastic surgery. I want to look like the filter. I'm going to get a bunch of Botox, So I really am glad that I have never gotten wrapped up in that world. And maybe that's why it is so easy for me to be flat, because I'm not like that. And I'm just secure in who I am. And I just am who I am. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. And I'm okay with that. And I think everyone, the older we get, we start to realize more of those life lessons. But these poor young girls who have such pressure on them, if we as women stick together and overcome this and throw it in the trash can, they'll all be out of business because you don't need Botox. These surgeons are now telling women in their 20s, my kids' age, girls, their girlfriends, their friends, to go get Botox to prevent wrinkles from ever happening. And they believe it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, do we realize what Botox is? I mean, Botox is short for botulism toxin,
Mhm.
meaning it could be like a little ounce cup, not even that much, poured over New York City. And as it dissipates through the air and as you breathe it, you die. It's that toxic. And yet we're teaching our kids that they need that. We've got collagen for that. We'll just stick with collagen, right? But it's mind blowing to me what we are doing to our children. But I think that it needs to start with us individually as women, us midlife women, right? As women that are hitting that midpoint of our life, that we're being faced with the skin that may not be as elastic, with the breasts that are not as perky. We need to start looking at ourselves with gratitude and counting those lines, counting however far the breasts are stretched as, you know, accolades and trophies and wins, and have gratitude for everything that our bodies have brought us through
Right.
and will continue to bring us through. Because if we have gratitude towards our bodies in the way that we are now, the longer we will be able to move forward healthily, right? Because it all starts with a healthy mindset. So
Absolutely.
if we could just do that for ourselves first, because we have to start here first. If we don't feel that way about ourselves, then that we can't help other women.
Right.
And I see that you've done that beautifully, that
Thank you.
you have so much self-acceptance, so much self-appreciation and love and honor. You honor yourself in such a way that I don't know that I've really seen from many other women, especially that have been through as much as what you've been through. And so share more about what you're doing now to really empower and bring awareness to obviously breast implants and the damage that they can do and the illness that can go along with them, but the options for, breast cancer survivors like yourself.
So the NCCN guidelines was a huge step in the right direction for us. I've also joined the NCBC, which is the National Consortium of Breast Centers. I went to their annual conference in March in Las Vegas, met with some amazing people there, and just kind of getting the word out that the tide is changing. The narrative is shifting. Women want all of their options and they want them presented equally and fairly, and they want to make educated choices. Don't dumb it down for us. We deserve the truth, and we deserve to know what the truth is so we can, if we want to take that risk, if it's worth it to us, we can weigh the risks and the benefits. No one gave me that information. I deserved to have that information, and it was withheld from me. So that's an important step, is just really, I feel like it's a slow process, but I feel like the narrative is slowly shifting. I'm also a member of the American Society of Breast Surgeons, so I'd like to get the word out there. And GPAC works globally with women all over the world. We have connected with women all over the world who have connections with their regulatory agencies, their plastic surgeon societies. And we do things on a small scale at the state level, where we're working on legislation in multiple states right now. And then we go big or go home, working with women in other countries who are working with their regulatory agencies, because they want to see changes and they want to see policies, be more patient friendly. So those are the things that we're working on. And for breast cancer women, really just connecting with other women in the community, just looking for the truth, the companionship, the sisterhood, lifting each other up, because there is something special about that sense of empowerment. I can't even describe it, but the women who are flat or considering going flat, they know exactly what I'm talking about, because it's so empowering, and it just makes you feel so badass. Like, I don't need anyone to tell me what I need to look like. I'm going to accept myself this way because my life is more important and my health is more important. And that comes first. And you're absolutely right. Every wrinkle, every frown or smile line, every scar, every surgical scar, I had 2 C-sections. So we all know what that kind of belly looks like. Hey, those are my trophies. That's just a notch on my belt for more badassery, like what I've been through, and I'm still kicking it. So be proud of what you've accomplished. Be proud, if you've got frown lines, smile lines, and crinkled crow's feet in the corner of your eyes, it's because you're human and you've laughed and you've cried and you've hugged and loved and been angry and sad and felt all the emotions. We don't need to be Botox frozen face robots.
No, we don't.
We're human beings and we have feelings and emotions, and our bodies reflect all of that. Age gracefully, do it, and set an example for these younger women that are just really up against such a narrative that's so damaging.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I
I
agree
feel like
100.
it's changing though. I see a lot, and maybe it's just the people I follow, but I see so many more like holistic beauty, followings or accounts that are focused on health and wellness and aging gracefully and ways to put on makeup to hide your wrinkles or whatever. So I see more people going that route, and I think it's great. I think it's great to see. And I know the plastic surgeons that are putting in implants. I know they're feeling it in their pocketbook. Some of the ones that are pushing so hard, that take all this money from industry. One of them was just named Newsweek's #1 plastic surgeon for breast augmentation. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. He's one of the ones fighting the hardest to keep these things on the market.
Of course, he's going to get the recognition.
And you should see, it's a clown show at this point. It's embarrassing. They will blame women being sick on everything except the implants. They'll blame it on tattoos, hair dye, toothpaste, eating too much fish, a pescatarian diet. Oh, these women smoke. But it's never the implants. Even though, I've seen literally women with 2 full sleeves of tattoos sick on their deathbed. They take their implants out. They still have all those tattoos, but they feel better. And they just went for a 5-mile hike. But it's not the implants.
Yep. I know many of them as well. I have many tattoos myself. And after I had my explant done, which explant means removing your implants, I was like able to stand up out of bed straight without the low back pain that I had had for a decade. And it's crazy. It is seriously amazing. So if people want to follow you on social media, are you available there, and where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook or Instagram, just Robyn Towt, ROBYN TOWT. And then we have our GPAC website, which is gpacunited.org. We have great resources on our resource page. We have a whole page just for breast implant, breast cancer resources. And then we have another one that has a lot of studies and information because people always ask me, well, how do you know breast implants aren't safe? And is there any studies that show this? And there are. there's 60 years worth of studies. And it's really interesting because I finally figured out, when I start reading all the studies that are in the Plastic Surgeon Society journals and such, the surgeons that are publishing articles there and studies there, those are the ones getting paid by industry. They're the ones that go to their society meetings and they're giving the presentations. They're controlling the narrative. They're literally regurgitating what Allergan and Mentor want them to say. And when you realize that, it makes so much sense. And so, but if you go and look outside those journals at the real science, in a rheumatology journal that shows Asia syndrome that is induced by adjuvants that are contaminants to our system, right? And they cause a whole array of debilitating health problems. That's the real research. And the women that are having all these problems, they remove their breast implants and they feel better.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, but it's not rocket science. It doesn't take a whole lot to figure out what the common denominator is there.
Yeah. And it's not just hundreds of women. This is thousands and thousands and thousands of women that have done
Hundreds
this.
of thousands.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And so you have given so much great information today and shared so beautifully. Do you have any final words that you'd like to leave the What Now tribe with?
I would just say to love yourself, accept yourself. If you're struggling with that, go to lunch and get a pedicure with a good friend and have her tell you all the great things about you. And we have another great advocate who also removed her implants. Her name's Dr. Amanda Savage Brown, and she has a website where, she helps women through the psychological journey of explanting and just body positivity, self acceptance, self love. She's actually going to be releasing a book soon, and it has guided audios. So, I think those are the kinds of women we need to be connecting with that are going to lift us up. Go find people that are lifting you up. If someone's tearing you down, close the door and walk away and don't look back.
Yes.
I lost my best friend of 19 years because she didn't believe my implants were making me sick. And, she told me to work my stuff out and give her a call when I'm done with breast cancer. So,
Interesting. Interesting. Well, negativity has no place in our homes.
exactly.
And our body is our very first home. It's the most
Absolutely.
important. So we have to keep it protected. So I love that. I love that you have taken such a place and a stance that you will protect yourself against all of that. But Robyn, you are amazing. I am so appreciative of you coming on and being such a phenomenal guest, with your episode being Your Flat Chest Saved Your Life. What now? Thank you so much, Robyn.
Thank you, Marcy. Have a great day.
Thank you.